Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Movie Goodness, where we examine life through cinema here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and today's episode is kind of an impromptu episode because this was not the show that I had planned, that I prepped for, that I was preparing to release to all of my beautiful listeners out there today. I was doing a completely different episode, which I probably will push back to next week, maybe if nothing else pops up. But this has been going on. It's nothing new what we're talking about today. And if you read the title of the episode, you know what we're talking about today. But uh, it's just so much, it's so much going on surrounding this individual that I felt, we got to talk about it because it is living rent free in my head for the past 2 or 3 days. And I just like, you know what? We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And normally I don't talk about accusations. We'll talk about court findings, after a verdict is read, but accusations I don't dive into because we don't know. We don't know what is true and what is not true. But this is crazy. And my heart and my head are kind of on the same page. And normally they're not, but they're on they're on the same page with this. And I feel pretty confident with discussing this particular topic. And it is none other than Sean Diddy Combs, or Puffy, or Puff Daddy, or Love, or whatever he decides to wake up and call himself today. But he has so many monikers, but we all know him as Diddy. And all of the accusations surrounding him, and it's so many. I mean, people are coming out of the woodworks, man. I mean, they're falling from trees and crawling from under dumpsters and everything, unleashing on this man. And I want to continue to make it clear. And I'm going to make it clear throughout the show. I don't have any opinion or any guilty or not guilty verdict concerning the accusations for Diddy, because I don't know. But I can tell you, I have opinions, and I would give my opinions surrounding this and my reason why I come to that opinion. And later on down the line, all that stuff can come out and be false, and I would gladly come on here and tell you I was wrong and issue an apology for feeling the way I feel. But I will discuss my feelings on certain things that have been brought up about Diddy and things that I've felt for the past, I don't know, 30 years, 25 years, somewhere up in there, that Bad Boy Records hit your local radio stations and record stores. So he's been in the zeitgeist for a while, but like I said, I've had my opinions all the way back then. But Sean Combs has been in a number of films, but I was trying to decide which film we're going to review for this show. I mean, it was going to be Notorious, but I said, no, that's more of a Biggie movie. We'll do that when we discuss Biggie. And so I'm not going to review Notorious. Then I thought about Monsters Ball. But I said, no, Monsters Ball needs his own show for a number of reasons. So I'm not going to do Monsters Ball. And so I settled on Get Him to the Greek. And he's not the star of the film. He's not the star of any of these films. I don't think Sean has starred in any movie. But, he's a big part of Get Him to the Greek, which came out in 2010, I believe. And so we're going to review that film, which stars Jonah Hill, Russell Brand, and Sean Combs. And so we're going to dive into that film when we get into our review. But let's go over all of the accusations that have been brought up against Sean Diddy Combs. And I mean, we're going to go through them all from the beginning of this kind of a tailspin in Sean Diddy Combs' career. I mean, a string of recent sexual assault allegations against him, in case you don't know, Sean Combs is a billionaire. A billionaire. He's a music mogul. He's an entrepreneur. But this has damaged his legacy. Uh, and it's damaged the legacy of a man who once was hip hop royalty. I mean, he was the, the top when it comes to that genre of music. Four women, which included Diddy's longtime girlfriend Cassie. Oh, well, her real name is Cassandra Ventura, but Cassie, who is, well, I'm not going to say an accomplished, an accomplished all. I think she only had like one hit, but she's talented. She can sing. But she filed an explosive lawsuit against Sean Combs in November and in December, accusing him of sexual and physical abuse, along with those four women. And in February of this year, a producer by the name of Little Rod, who is his real name is Rodney Jones, he filed a similar lawsuit, and he accused Diddy of sexual assault and harassing him, and that several people in his circle engaged in illicit behavior. And so just this past Monday on what was that, March the 25th, federal agents from Homeland Security raided Sean Diddy Combs' homes, not only in Los Angeles, but in Miami as well, as part of a sweeping sex trafficking inquiry. So this has gotten deep, deep, deep. Now, of course, Diddy has denied all the recent allegations, and his lawyer, Aaron Dyer, slammed the execution of the Homeland Security investigation as an extensive show of force in a statement that was released to the Los Angeles Times. This is the statement that was released by Sean Diddy Combs' attorney. Yesterday, there was a gross overuse of military level force as search warrants were executed at Mr. Combs' residence. There is no excuse for the extensive show of force and hostility established by authorities or the way his children and employees were treated. Mr. Combs was never detained but spoke to and cooperated with authorities. Despite media speculation, neither Mr. Combs nor any of his family members have been arrested, nor has their ability to travel been restricted in any way. This is a statement released by Aaron Dyer, the lawyer for Sean Diddy Combs. Combs, as we all know, hip hop artist, producer, record label executive. He built the fashion line. He built a liquor empire. He's facing a dramatic downfall in the light of these accusations of violence and abuse. Here's the timeline. We're going to go through the whole timeline of all of the accusations that has been levied against Sean Diddy Combs going back to 1990. In November of last year, a lawsuit was filed by Lisa Garner accusing Diddy and R&B singer Aaron Hall of sexual assaulting her and her friend in 1990. In 1991, another lawsuit filed in November. Joy Dickinson Neal alleged that Combs drugged and sexually assaulted her when she was 19. Combs also allegedly recorded and shared a video of this assault. In 1993, Diddy founded Bad Boy Records and began discovering and developing hip hop artists and producing their works as musicians. The most notable one is, of course, Biggie Smalls himself, the notorious B.I.G. In April of 1999, Diddy was arrested on suspicion of assaulting Interscope Records executive Scott Storch and plead guilty of harassment. December of that year, 1999, Diddy was charged with criminal possession of a weapon after police found a gun in his car following a shooting at a club in New York City. He and then girlfriend J-Lo Jennifer Lopez were both arrested. Uh, in 2003, according to a December 2023 lawsuit, Sean Combs, a former Bad Boy president, and a third unidentified person allegedly drugged and gang raped a then 17-year-old girl, only identified in the complaint as Jane Doe. The alleged assault took place at a New York City recording studio after the former Bad Boy president, uh, Harvey Pierre, and the unidentified man flew in with the victim from Detroit. In 2005, Diddy, then in his mid 30s, met 19-year-old Cassie and expressed interest in signing her to Bad Boy Records. In 2006, Cassie signed a 10-album deal with Sean Combs' label and it alleged in a November 2023 lawsuit that he used his time to set the groundwork for a sexual relationship with Cassie. October of 2007, Sean Combs, I guess you could say, developed or started his Ciroc vodka company, and which was very successful for him. Also in 2007, Diddy and Cassie were romantically linked for the very first time. In the November 2023 lawsuit, Cassie alleged that Combs took advantage of his position as the head of her record label and convinced her to take illegal drugs before having sex with her for the first time. She also alleged that over their nearly decade-long relationship, Diddy physically and sexually abused her, often with witnesses present. The complaint detailed one incident in which Diddy allegedly beat Cassie and repeatedly kicked and stomped her in the face, only stopping when she started to vomit. Cassie said in the lawsuit that Diddy's tremendously loyal network, who witnessed her repeated assaults, were not willing to do anything meaningful to stop the violence. In 2012, at a point where Diddy and Cassie were broken up, Cassie briefly dated fellow rapper Kid Cudi. According to a November 2023 lawsuit, Diddy told Cassie that he was going to blow up Kid Cudi's car and that he wanted to ensure that Kid Cudi was home with his friends when it happened. Around this time, the lawsuit says the musician's car actually exploded in his driveway. A representative for Kid Cudi confirmed the explosion to the New York Times. Yes, this isn't a movie. We're not to the movie review yet, people. This is what's actually taking place. In 2013, Diddy launched the media company Revolt as a co-founder. In 2014, Diddy expanded his deal with the Ciroc, his Ciroc deal. Now he has a tequila deal as well, a brand. I can't think of the name of that, but that started in 2014. We move over to June of 2015. Diddy was arrested on suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon at a UCLA athletic complex following an altercation with a coach, during which police said Diddy used a kettlebell. Diddy's son played football at UCLA at the time of the altercation. In August of that same year, 2015, Cassie alleged in the November 2023 lawsuit that throughout her relationship with Combs, he forced her to perform sex acts on male sex workers. He allegedly forced Cassie and the hired sex workers to take illegal drugs, as was the case in a 2015 meeting described in the complaint. Diddy also allegedly recorded the encounters and threatened violence if Cassie refused to participate. This is according to that lawsuit. In 2018, Cassie repeatedly tried to sever ties with Diddy and met him for dinner in September of 2018. Per the November 2023 lawsuit, Diddy allegedly forced himself into Cassie's home after the dinner and raped her while she repeatedly said no and tried to push him away. Following this alleged assault, Cassie took further steps to completely separate herself from Diddy. In July of 2022, Sean Combs accepted a Lifetime Achievement Award at the BET Awards. Uh, and just going by the accusations thus far, he has achieved a lot. Now, a Lifetime Achievement Award, it never said lifetime of good achievements. So I think BET is clear of that. Yeah, he's achieved a lot. If half of this is true, he's achieved a lot. Uh, 2022 to 2023, music producer Jones alleged that Combs sexually assaulted him over a year-long period when Jones was living in Sean Combs' properties and working on the production of the Love album Off the Grid. Jones also alleged in the February lawsuit that Diddy tried to groom him into engaging in sex with partner Stephen Aaron Jordan, also known as Stevie J. If you watched Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, you know who Stevie J is. And I can see that. Other accusations from the explosive federal complaint, which was originally filed in February but amended Monday, March the 25th, included Jones' claim that Oscar award-winning actor Hubert Gooding Jr. sexually harassed and assaulted him, and that Combs forced Jones to take illegal drugs and solicit sex workers, some of whom were allegedly underage. In June of last year, Diddy sued the beverage company that he was partnering with the Ciroc deal, for allegedly treating the brand he co-founded as an inferior black brand or ethnic brands. You know, it was racial discrimination lawsuit that he filed against that company. But that company denies those accusations of racism and previous statements. So that's still up in the air. I don't know much about it. But in September of last year, 2023, Diddy returned publishing rights to some of his artists and songwriters signed to Bad Boy Entertainment. The surprise move restored the publishing rights back to the artists, which include Maze 112, The Lox, the Notorious B.I.G., and his widow, Faith Evans. That was a shocking move that he did that. Everybody thought it was out the kindness of his heart, but it's probably 9 times out of 10, he probably had an ulterior motive behind it, which leads us to November of last year, 2023, when Cassie filed a sex trafficking and sexual assault lawsuit against Diddy, alleging a years-long period of physical and sexual abuse. The complaint says Cassie hoped to confront her abuser and to hold him and those who enabled his abusive accounts for their actions. Through his attorneys, Diddy, of course, denied all those accusations, but in another surprise move, 24 hours after that suit was filed, it was settled. It was immediately settled out of court. Following the news of the Cassie filing, Dickinson Neal and Garner also filed lawsuits alleging Diddy sexually abused them. In that same month, November of 2023, Diddy stepped down from his position as chairman at Revolt TV. The very next month, in December of 2023, a fourth lawsuit accusing Diddy and former Bad Boy label president Harvey Pierre of gang raping and sex trafficking was filed on behalf of a victim who was 17 years old at the time. Pierre said in a statement, the accusations are disgusting, false, and a desperate attempt for financial gain. Moving over to a couple of months ago, January of this year, Diddy withdrew his racial discrimination lawsuit against the beveraging company. In a joint statement, Diddy and the company said the former partners had no ongoing business relationship, either with respect to Ciroc vodka or the tequila, which are now both solely owned by the beveraging company Diego. In February of this year, Jones became the fifth person to file a lawsuit against Diddy, alleging that he sexually assaulted them. Jones' suit names several notable entertainment industry figures, not just Diddy. It includes his son, Diddy's son Justin, Stevie J, Young Miami, Universal Music Group CEO, Lucian Grange, and many others. There are a lot who were named in this lawsuit. This brings us to just a few days ago on March the 25th, when Homeland Security agents searched Diddy's LA and Miami mansions as part of a federal inquiry into sex trafficking allegations against him conducted by the prosecutors in the Southern District of New York. The investigation is ongoing. The very next day, on the 26th of March, TMZ reported that Sean Diddy Combs recently sold off all of his shares in Revolt TV, the company he co-founded in 2013, for an undisclosed amount. So that's all of the accusations in a nutshell. Look, my opinion on it, I'm not even going to wait to the end on it. My opinion on it is something ain't right. Something clearly isn't right here. When all this jumped off, I'm gonna be completely clear and honest with you. This is my chain of events throughout these accusations. When the lawsuit was filed by Cassie, I was kind of like, it's just a torn lover. She's mad. She wants some money and blah blah blah. That was on the day, but the next day, when it was quickly settled, my opinions changed. And I was like, look, because I put myself in. Now I don't want to say it like, well, I gotta say I'm out there now. Let's put myself in Diddy's shoes here. If all of these accusations are being thrown at me and it's not true, I could care less. I honestly could care less. We're gonna prove it in court. You're gonna have to prove it in court that I did X, Y, and Z. And that's that. I'm not gonna fight it. What I'm gonna fight the truth for? The truth is gonna prevail eventually. And so I'm not sweating that. I'm certainly not settled immediately. I mean, it was almost immediate that that the settlement came through. Now it's undisclosed. We don't know how much it was or whatever. But that doesn't take away from whatever. And settling is not an admission of guilt. I know that. I acknowledge that. And so that doesn't mean he did all that Cassie alleges he did to her. But, but on the outside looking in, it looks kind of shaky to me. And now all the rest of these accusations that have come out. Now he has denied it, of course. He released a statement about all that. But once again, if all this is false, all of this is slander, I'm not fighting with these people. I'm not going to let them beat me like this. All I built for all these years. Now, some of the things that I listed are absolutely true. I remember the incident with him and J-Lo at the club. I remember that happening, and that was true. He had a gun. That was true. I remember him going beating up the executive, the record label executive, when he was in that Nas video. And I remember that. harassing the guy. There are things that Sean Diddy Combs has done that is documented and is true. And so he's no angel. But this is deep here. Now, the reason why I kind of believe some of this is because I always felt Diddy or Puffy or Puff Daddy or Sean John, whatever he was called at the time, or call himself now, he always had this aura, man. He just had this vibe that something quite wasn't right. At least that's the vibe I got from him. I wasn't the biggest Puffy fan or Diddy fan or Sean John fan. I wasn't the biggest. And I just, I like some of the artists he put out. I love Biggie, of course. I love 112, Total, Deluxe, Faith Evans. I mean, he was an executive at Uptown Records, which gave us Mary J. Blige, which gave us Jodeci. All these artists. He had a big part in all this. A major part of my childhood growing up was Sean Combs. So kudos to that on the executive side. But as far as him as a person, man, nah. I just never had a good vibe with Sean Combs. I never was like, oh man, Diddy got he's gonna be on this, or he's releasing an album, or this. Oh man, I gotta go get. I never was that guy. I never was that guy with him. I just never vibed with him. But does that mean he's guilty? No. I just feel that it just feels right. This makes sense. And I don't think these people are lying. Now, some of this stuff just seems true. And we living in an age where a lot of people are speaking out. We in the Me Too movement, with the Speak Out movement. We got all this going on, and a lot of people are coming forward with all of these stories that took place behind the scenes of a lot of things that we grew up watching, or we watched and when we was older, whenever, and enjoyed. But behind the scenes, it was hell. I just watched that documentary about Nickelodeon. Quiet on the Set, and that was the show that we was gonna talk about today. But I'm gonna push that back to next week, so I'm not gonna talk too much about it right here. But we see what took place behind the scenes of all of those cute little Nickelodeon shows that we either watch when we were kids or let our kids watch when they were growing up. And to see that, I'm like, man, I'm just so disgusted by it. It's so disgusting to see that. But it's not just there. You can go back to the Harvey Weinsteins of it all. And it goes deeper than that. It didn't just start. None of this stuff just started. It's always been like this. Think about the Charlie Sheen, Corey Haim stories that nobody listened to. Now starts to make sense. It's heartbreaking. It's truly heartbreaking. And it makes you question the price of fame. You know what I'm saying? Like, is it worth it? Is it worth it to get involved with this type of stuff? Because that's what it seems like. Hollywood and the music industry, it's like you have to sell your soul. And quite frankly, it ain't worth it. If I got to go through all this, it's not worth it. It's truly not worth it. And my opinion on Sean Combs, I just hope the truth comes out. I'll say that. I pray that the truth comes out, and whoever was hurt in this situation get vindicated. Whether that be the alleged victims or Sean Combs. If he's completely innocent of all these accusations, I hope he gets justice for that. But I just hope that justice is truly served at the end of it all. But my humble opinion, he did it. But that's just me. Now, when it all comes out and it's the other way around, I'm gonna hop on this mic yet again and apologize. I truly will. But right now, no. No, I think a lot of this is true. I'm not on board with 100% of it, but a lot of this it passes the smell test for me. It really does. But hey man, I hope everything turns out all right in the end. But let's get into the review of Get Him to the Greek. It is an American comedy that was released in 2010. And it was written, directed, and produced by Nicholas Schroeder, and it stars Russell Brand and Jonah Hill. And this was a spinoff to a film that caught me and I would imagine many others by surprise, and that's Forgetting Sarah Marshall. That movie was hilarious, and I wasn't expecting it to be as funny as it was, and it was. And so, Get Him to the Greek was high on my list in 2010. I was really excited. I was like, okay, we got the same director, we got Russell Brand returning, Jonah Hill, I'm a fan of. Yeah, let's go, let's get it. Let the hilarity ensue, you know? And I must say, as much as this film is not as funny as the first one or Forgetting Sarah Marshall, it's still funny in its own right, in parts. It's not the greatest of films. It's actually kind of forgettable. And I had to rewatch parts of it. I didn't rewatch the whole film, but I remembered enough. And from the parts that I did watch, I knew exactly what the film was about. It all came back once I rewatched part of it. This film is about a record company intern who is hired to accompany an out of control British rock star to a concert at LA's Greek Theater. And starring alongside Jonah Hill and Russell Brand, you have Elizabeth Moss, Rose Byrne, and of course, Sean Diddy Combs. They have a number of cameos in this film as well. Kristen Bell returns as Sarah Marshall for a minute. You had Pink, Christina Aguilera, Mario Lopez, Pharrell, Katy Perry, Alanis Morissette. It was a lot of people that popped up in this film. This uh, this movie had promise, but it was like any generic comedy that came out in the early 2000s. It was just a all right film. It was all right. And this is pre Moneyball Jonah Hill. This is pre Wolf of Wall Street Jonah Hill. This is just Jonah Hill being in these obscure comedies. And he was the same character in every film until he really broke out and showed the world that he can act. And he wasn't bad in this movie. He was funny in this movie. It was just a generic comedy. Russell Brand, I'm not the biggest Russell Brand fan because just like I mentioned about Jonah Hill around this time, he's the same character in every movie. And it just whatever. And in this particular film, it's not really fair to say because of course, he was the same character that he was in Forgetting Sarah Marshall because he is the same character in that film. So I'm not gonna ding him for that, but there was nothing new about the character. There wasn't a real, character arc for Adonis Snow. He was just whatever. you know, he had little funny parts here and there, but nothing to, burst open the side of your gut of laughter out of this film. The funniest part of this film, which, hindsight, you feel kind of guilty saying, but the funniest part of this film was Sean Combs. The scene where he got loaded with everybody else in that apartment, and it was just hilarious. That was a funny scene. That was the funniest scene in the film. But other than that, the film was what it was, trying to bank on the popularity of Forgetting Sarah Marshall. So this was just, well, to put it plainly, a cash grab. In my humble opinion, it was whatever. It was clearly whatever, but enjoyable for that one time I truly sat down from beginning to end to watch it. But overall, not a very good film. I wish it was the type of movie that you can revisit after 14 years and say, you know what? Let me pop this back in. Maybe I missed something and die laughing like I did. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but I've told other people, so it's not a secret. I watched the first time I watched Step Brothers, I did not find it funny. And I'm talking about Step Brothers with Will Ferrell and oh my god, who's the other guy? Who's the other guy that's in that movie? I'm picturing him. I can't think of his name right now. I'm blanking. But anyway, I didn't find that movie funny the first time. And my cousin told me, man, did you see Step Brothers? I'm like, yeah. And then he like, you didn't think it was funny? I said, no, I don't see what people all excited about that movie about. And he gave me the riot act. Another friend of mine, he gave me the riot act because I felt the same way. And I was like, man, y'all tripping. And the same thing with Talladega Nights. Also, Will Ferrell. Didn't find it funny the first time. But on second viewing of those two films, funniest movies I've ever seen in my life. Step Brothers is the one movie that I would literally end up on the floor watching. It is that funny. I don't know if I was in a bad mood the first time I watched it, or I just wasn't feeling it, or I don't know what I don't know what happened the first time I watched that or Talladega Nights. It just did not connect the first time. But when I watched it on the second go round, both films, they were hilarious. I mean, funniest, top 5 funniest movies I've ever seen. Get Them to the Greek, not in that category. It's not in that category at all. But I digress. Get Them to the Greek, which was released in 2010, gets a letter grade of a D plus. Yeah, it was whatever. That was a very, very disappointing film, and it had so much potential with the premise, and it just did not quite get there with me. But yeah, man, Diddy. Diddy is I don't know how this is going to end for Sean Combs. I really don't. Being a friend of mine was talking, and I don't wish this on him, but God knows this is how my heart, mind, whatever is directing me to. Don't be shocked if you hear about Sean Combs taking the easy way out. And like I said, I'm not advocating for that. I hope that we get some type of vindication in some shape, form, or fashion. But with all of this pressure, all of these accusations, everything that is happening right now, it wouldn't shock me, because he was at the top. He was this dude. It was what he ain't was. It is a billionaire. He controlled so much. He had so much going for him. He was so successful in everything. Those billionaires that you hear about fail at certain businesses but hit with everything else. Not with Sean Combs, not with Diddy. Diddy succeeded with everything he touched. Everything he touched was successful, and he just rode that wave. But underneath the surface, allegedly, there's a dark side, and I just want to once again stress the emphasis of allegedly. We don't know all of the facts, but as the old saying goes, where there's smoke, there's fire. So let's just sit back and wait. Let's not quick to be so quick to judge and condemn the man. The man ain't been to court. There ain't even been no charges officially. And so let's relax and let the process go as it goes. So and all the names that are popping up as well that are linked to him. Example, Cuba Gooding Jr. He's linked up in it. Prince Harry, people. He's linked up in it. And Prince Harry got his own problems right now. On top of this, Young Miami, who was his ex-girlfriend. She's linked up in all this, just to name a few. You know, it's gonna get much worse before it gets better for Diddy. It just reminds me of the Jeffrey Epstein situation and all that transpired there. And when I didn't read it. I watched a video of Luke Campbell. Yeah, Uncle Luke, who is the biggest freak there is. When he said he would go to Diddy parties and leave early because of what's going on. He left. He found it was a problem. That's saying a lot. If Uncle Luke felt uncomfortable, there was a problem. And so, man, I don't know. God bless him. I hope the truth comes out. And if the truth is already out, then may justice be served. But, that's just my humble opinion. I would like to know, what are your thoughts about Diddy and these accusations and these lawsuits and everything that is transpiring over the past few months here with him and his potential downfall, man. This stinks. And it's crazy. It's crazy because we all laughed at Cat Williams a couple of months ago. You remember that interview he did with Shannon Sharp, and he pretty much prophesied that 2024 everything's going to come to light. What's all going on behind the scenes in the music industry and Hollywood and all this. He said this was going to be the year all this was going to come to light. And here we are. Here we are. So, hey man, it must be something there. It's got to be something there. But I would like to know, what are your thoughts? You can email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also look me up on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network, as well as YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and give this video a like if you don't mind. Also, don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to Movie Goodness here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this little dive into all of the accusations that have risen against one Sean Diddy Combs. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone. And until we speak again, you all be blessed.